Welcome once again to the Lions Roar podcast. We're excited as we endeavor on our path towards communicating well with our school family. And so we're thankful for you listening and tuning in. This will be our third episode, so we're still new at this and getting it all figured out. And it is summertime. And so most of the time we think of summertime as time off from school. But our guest today is Abbey Tomko. Most of you know Mrs. Tomko probably very well, and if you have been around the school at all, she's the director of our preschool, Hidden Treasures Preschool. And right now, she's plenty busy because in the summertime around here, we have King's Camp. And so, Abbey, tell me a little bit about King's Camp. Who comes to King's Camp? What is happening at King's Camp?
Sure.
What's the vibe there during the summertime?
The vibe is lots of excitement, lots of fun. We have about 120 boys and girls enrolled for this summer. And in order to attend our summer program, you have to be enrolled for the fall. So anybody that's enrolled for the fall is eligible. Not all of them come.
So what grades is that? They're enrolled in the fall.
Sure. So we start with our early treasures. So our 2.5s, if you have to be 2.5 in order to start, just that's the way our license works. But then it goes 2.5, 30 months. And then we go up through those entering third grade.
Okay. That's awesome. So what does a typical day at King's Camp look like? Because, I'm kind of hoping it's not like school extended into the summer for these poor kids. What's going on there?
No. Well, you just have to know that preschool's always great.
Sure.
But in the summer, it does we're outside a lot more. The playground is so wonderful. I was just touring somebody yesterday and talking about, just the shade on the playground and the equipment that we've been able to purchase or inherit.
The big tower.
The big tower, for sure.
Yeah, I know you have to be old enough to go on the big tower. That's like a big milestone. And fun fact, Abby's husband, Dennis, and I were on the crew that built the big tower.
True.
That's one of my claim to fame with my kids for when they were,
Do you look at your kids and say, "You're welcome"?
No, they thanked me. They thought it was pretty cool, and then they got older, and then it was like not as cool. But I still claimed it.
You still have it.
And,
yeah,
it's all good.
So yeah, for sure. But it's lots of time outside. And they even get to eat lunch outside, which is so fun, in the picnic area. But I think the highlight of the day, besides all the fun outside, is for sure that they have a daily Bible story. So it's that Bible time, singing and practicing Bible verses, and then, really coming back to that and hitting those character qualities each day. What do we learn from God's Word and how can we apply it?
It's great.
Would be a big focus of the summer.
I know there's some field trips and water day.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of activities as well going on.
We actually talked about turning on the sprinklers of the soccer field and letting the kids run through them.
Free fun there.
Right, it's so true. Just anything for something
Kill
new
two
and
birds
exciting.
with one stone.
Right, the
Water
grass
the
gets
field.
watered and
Very good. Well, the reason that Abby's here isn't just to talk about summer camp. I wanted to give opportunity for our school family to get to know our administrators. And so, Abbey, I know you pretty well, and so I know how great you are and how great you are at what you do, but I want our school family to get to know you a little bit better. So tell me, first of all, kind of your first introduction to Calvary Baptist Church, Calvary Baptist Academy, even growing up, what that looked like. What was your first kind of introduction to the ministry here at Calvary?
When you say I grew up at Calvary, it's true. I was at Calvary when it was Cherry Street at Calvary, I went back that far before the new building.
Yeah, so people know the church started over on Ashman Street, then moved to Cherry Street, and then has a facility now where we are currently located on Perrin Road. Right. So you were there at Cherry Street for how long? How old were you at that time?
Well, when I was in kindergarten is when the school moved us to the first phase of the Perrin Road part of the building. Yeah, that's like the elementary building currently, that hallway. Yeah. Right. So I actually did preschool, started at Cherry Street, and I can remember this weird time where we were like busing over a little bit and having some time with big kids. It's funny what childhood memories do, but I really have grown up at Calvary. Yeah. And I went through, that was my church, and that was my school. My mom taught preschool there. And then I went through 5th grade, and then my dad was transferred. He worked for Dow Corning, and we moved to Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Just
like Midland.
Well, sort of. The weather's a lot the same. You get all the 4 seasons. It's beautiful. And we attended a church there and a Christian school there, similar as we could find to Calvary, but it was different for sure. We like to say that beyond a high school grad education, the best thing I got from Connecticut was my husband. We were high school sweethearts, and when we moved back, we brought him with us.
Yeah, so you and Dennis were in the same high school there, that Christian school there, ended up the same college in those years. And so, and then the Lord brought you to Midland. Tell me a little bit about how that came about. So you obviously moved away with your family.
Right.
How did you find your way back to Midland?
Yeah, so my dad was transferred back when I was starting my senior year of college, pursuing my degree in early childhood. And we were engaged at that time, and my husband-to-be was working on getting his master's degree from Clemson. And he was teaching 3rd grade in South Carolina. And our thought was we would stay in South Carolina, at least until he was done. We're old enough that online school wasn't really a thing yet, and you kind of had to be in person for that. And so that was our plan. That how long we'd stay there, we didn't know. But shortly after moving back, being transferred back to Midland, my dad was diagnosed with colon cancer. And my mom and dad were quite instrumental in my husband now in his spiritual development. And we had dated for a long time, and he was kind of part of the family before he was part of the family. And so I think it hit both of us pretty hard.
Sure.
And Dennis said, Ab, we gotta be there, And so he came up and really, truly interviewed on the spot, and God opened a door for him to get a job in Bullitt Creek. And so he has taught there and been an administrator in Bullitt Creek School District for 25 years.
Sure.
And we know that God did that. And I remember saying to Mrs. Reese, I would love to teach in the preschool. And at that time, there weren't job openings. So I thought, okay, I'll look somewhere else. But enrollment grew, and they needed to open another class. So I got to teach K4 that year. And we never looked back.
Yeah, that kind of leads us right into how did you first come to the school as far as employment and whatnot. And so you came in as a
begged and begged and begged.
Yeah, K4 teacher.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about the history there. How long were you in K4? And then where else did you kind of navigate to other classrooms? And then when did you become the director?
Sure. So I taught K4 for 9 years. And as now on the flip side, now in the office, I realize what I did to my director is what young teachers often do to me too. They get married and then they want to have a baby.
Yeah.
And so my schedule changed, right? So I taught for 5 years. I taught a morning class and an afternoon class. So in any given day, I had 48 students. So that was really special. So I did that for 5 years, and then we had our first baby. But then I thought, well, I'll come back part-time. I think Mrs. Reese needed some help in extended care. So even Charlie came with me. Our baby came with me to do a help with extended care. And then I thought I'll come back part-time, and then found out I was having baby number 2. And so sooner than we thought. So I taught up until she was actually taught the day she was born. And then went to the hospital and had her. So then took a year off, and then have been back. So total, I got to teach K4 for 9 years, and then moved to kindergarten and got to teach there for 5. And as I loved teaching K4, but I would have said I didn't know how much I was going to love kindergarten, but God did. And it wasn't a job I was seeking. It was a hole, and I think at my core, that's what I am. I'm a hole filler, right? You need that. I'll do my best. I'm not guaranteeing to be anything good at it, but I'll help. And I would say as a teacher, I found myself in kindergarten. I loved the curriculum. I loved what I got to teach. I loved even that next step of maturity in the students.
There's a lot of growth that takes
really
place.
exciting.
That age.
I loved it.
So
I got to do that for 5.
That with Laura, the light bulb moments that happen in that
it's
5 years old,
remarkable.
First grade, just that around that age, just so much is happening so quickly. So
for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I did that for 5 years, and then was asked to consider moving to the office to become the new director. And I really did not see that one coming. I thought for sure I would be a teacher my whole life. That's what my mom did. And
well, you still are. You're still teaching.
For sure. I just didn't see it. But there again, God did. And now I've done that for 10 years. So they haven't kicked me out yet.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the unique things I know for you too is that your mom worked in the preschool.
Yeah.
So you got to work alongside her, and now she still is around and subs and fills in some holes there as well. And so I'm sure that was fun and unique.
Oh, so special. And I always say everyone should have somebody that close to them when you're your first year teacher, because I thought there were things that I could ask her that I couldn't ask anyone else because it would prove my ignorance, right? But she already knew and wanted me to succeed. And so that was really special. She was there to help. And but for sure, so many memories.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say, you kind of alluded to it a little bit already maybe, but would you say is a highlight of your classroom years? Like some of those things that keeps you coming back to the teaching profession.
Right. I mean, I again, when you say, well, you loved the light bulb moments, and I'm picturing that too. I worked and loved kindergarten graduation is a really special event. And it's the one thing that when I try to hire a new kindergarten teacher, they're like, oh, I don't want to do kindergarten graduation.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. It's the only time that one grade has to do the entire program, right?
Yeah, all the parents and the grandparents.
And the video camera's rolling.
I mean,
and,
it's
you don't want to mess
graduation,
it up.
but it's like, this is the biggest thing that's happened in their life so far.
To date, absolutely. But I would say those moments of getting to celebrate with families like that were really, really special.
Yeah. And you've really made kindergarten graduation, I think unique in a lot of ways. I've seen other kindergarten graduations, and there's maybe pieces that we do that are similar to others, but just that unique individual highlighting of each student and having the opportunity for them to be represented and honored, not just a name across the stage, but highlighting some things about them.
Noticed,
That's really cool. And
we made those changes the first year I was teaching kindergarten, and I countless hours to try to really navigate that and figure it out. And I remember talking with my sister after it was over and feeling like it was exactly what I dreamed. And she said, well, Ab, that's true. The Bible says that a desire accomplished is sweet to the soul. So enjoy the sweet moments, because you worked hard at that, and
I know families
and it is what you want.
That,
yeah, it's the look we want. Those kids are special to us for sure.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about, as director, moving from classroom to director. Some of it's obvious, right? The answer to this question, but what is different, and how did your mindset have to change moving from the classroom into overseeing, the operations and overseeing, all of the teachers, making sure they're supported? What had to change in your mindset, and what's the big difference there besides just the job description?
Sure. Well, it was interesting that first year that I moved into the office, a little boy that I'd had in my class the year before came to me and said, this is my new class. Mrs. Tomko, where's your class? And I said, I don't have a class, I have an office. And he looked and he peeked in my office and went, really? This is it? That there aren't as many toys and the snack cupboard and, all the things. But so in that way, it hit me that I felt like, I think most people would say it was a promotion. And there were, in that moment, I probably considered, boy, I don't know. I love the classroom so much. But I really had a lot of growing to do. The idea of mentoring others and understanding the role is those teachers are my people, and helping them so that they can have a successful school year.
Yeah, for sure.
Helping to manage when we've got students who are struggling, and what does that look like, and how can I help them? How can I help the student? How can I help the parents? How can I help the staff? So coming up with that balance. I wouldn't say I'm perfect at it, but we work at it.
No, for sure. I think that, a director of a preschool, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of roles, and in one sense, a lot of bosses. So, because really, we wouldn't use that terminology. The teachers would say that you're their boss, but in one sense, that's who you're serving.
Absolutely.
You're serving the teachers.
For sure.
Your goal is to give them all the tools and to support them so they can be successful in the classroom, because that teacher is the hinge pin of a successful program.
Absolutely.
And then you're serving the students. So, as you're serving those teachers, you're doing that indirectly to serve those students, and sometimes directly, like you said, if there's discipline issues or just needs within a particular classroom that a student has. And then the parents and ministering to them in lots of different ways. How would you say you were maybe surprised or it looked different than you maybe anticipated ministering to parents? Because I think that's probably one of the biggest changes when you move from the classroom to the office as director. I know some of what takes place with meetings with moms and dads before enrollment, and then once they're a student here, and then even as they're making decisions about continuing ed and sitting in your office having conversations about life.
Right.
And tell me a little bit about maybe some of those things that you maybe didn't anticipate right off.
I think my nature, I want to please everyone. I really do. And nobody loves conflict, but I really don't love conflict.
Yeah.
And so there are moments that's stressful to me, right? Because I can't please everyone. And so to really navigate that well and to do that with a sweet spirit, I think there were times when I thought, well, I like to think that I'm friends with everyone and can make everybody happy and make it.
This.
I can do it and I can fix it. I can make it work out okay for everybody. And I think quickly into that role discovered it's not as easy as it sounds.
For sure.
You can't please everybody, for sure.
Yeah. No, I think that is a challenge of being a director, is that you sometimes feel torn between different entities too. Like you need to support your teacher, but you're trying to support a parent and a student, and it sounds like that would always be in harmony.
In a perfect world,
sometimes there's conflict. Sometimes the teacher's wrong. That can happen. Teachers aren't perfect.
Sure.
And so their expectation
Except
is wrong.
At Hidden Treasures.
Yeah, for sure. But sometimes they have a wrong expectation or maybe even a wrong approach to how to handle a particular situation. Or the other way around, a parent maybe has a wrong expectation or an unrealistic expectation on a teacher, on the classroom, or just a different philosophy. They signed up for Hidden Treasures Preschool, which has a philosophy of putting Christ at the center of everything,
Absolutely.
A biblical worldview, and some of those things. And so they may have a different idea of what they want done, and so you're not going to be able to please that particular family once they realize that is the philosophy. It's not just on paper.
We actually mean it, yeah.
And so as we talk about that, tell me a little bit about that, the spiritual development piece. These are 2.5-year-olds to 5-year-olds. And through the week, what does that look like? Spiritual enrichment. Of course, I know parts of it are going to be the mechanics of that. But what would you say is the goal spiritually for our students that come into the preschool particularly? Right.
Well, I think I was hit with that again recently. A few years ago, our curriculum that we've used forever had a new update, had a new edition put out. And so when I put in the book order, we ordered the new edition. And the teachers came back to me and they struggled because it wasn't like the old one, and
sure.
And I thought, well, perhaps if we give it more time.
Maybe it's just change.
Right.
Change is
maybe
hard.
It's new. And
I've never had a teacher when a new edition came out cheer,
Right. Probably that's true.
Generally, it's like, I was comfortable with what I had before.
Yeah, things are in a different order, or things are, but I think in those moments when we talked about it and talked it through, what was the thing that was bothering them? And I think they were so accustomed to not exactly a chronological approach through the Bible, but in some ways, yes. That we spend a lot of the fall learning Old Testament stories. Bible stories such as Daniel in the lion's den and Jonah and the whale and David and Goliath. So you're building a knowledge starting right at the beginning of the year with creation, because first and foremost, we want boys and girls to know God made them, God loves them, God loves us in spite of our sin, and had a plan for that, right? And so you kind of walk through that, start in Genesis, walk through the Old Testament, building to Christmas when we get to talk about Jesus' birth, right? And why he came and the timing of that. And so that Christmas, when in other schools they're talking about Santa, and we get to talk about Jesus. And that's my solution every year to the arguments that happen in our preschool classrooms every year about who says Santa's real and who says he is not, And so we say at school, if you have a question about Santa, ask your mom and dad. But at school, we're going to talk about Jesus. So we get to do that through Christmas. And when we come back after Christmas, then we go right into the life and ministry of Jesus here on earth. And so we learn all the miracles. And at that point, then you're building to Easter and think, I want you to fall in love with Jesus that winter to springtime, so that when we learn that he died, it matters, So you're building to Easter.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. You want them to fall in love with Jesus. We want the students to leave knowing that God is real, that he cares about them, that Jesus is real, and that he cares about them.
Absolutely.
And that then if we're successful, that seed is planted at the very least. That ties the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ to a person who did that for them.
Right.
It's not just an event or a story.
Right.
So that's the goal.
Right.
And so, you and I are unique a little bit. We have some kids that just graduated high school.
Sure do.
Super unique. Lots of people have that. But I thought it was really cool as our kids graduated that at graduation, their kindergarten teacher came back, Mrs. Newmont, right? She's retired and off doing other things, but she came back to their high school graduation because we had about a dozen students that had been from preschool all the way through.
Right.
And, that's the unique thing about Calvary, having that opportunity for a student to start, and whether it's K3, K4, K5, and then move all the way through 12th grade. Right. And to have a teacher that doesn't even live in the state. I mean, she lives down in Florida, I believe now, and whatnot. But she was so excited for their graduation that she traveled back.
Yes.
I know she has family in the area, but the timing of everything,
it was for that purpose.
Yes. Ahead of time, she made us know that she was going to be here and that she wanted to be a part of graduation. And I think that really exemplifies the heart of our teachers at Hidden Treasures Preschool. And Abby, I really think that comes directly from your leadership, like your heart for the students and your love for them. Even, in talking today, I sent you tearing up and, getting a little emotional. And we appreciate your leadership with those preschoolers. And I don't think that it's, though it's awesome what Marilyn did, I don't think it's unique for our teachers, because I think we have a lot of teachers that just love their students.
We sure do.
And care about their students.
Sure do.
And so, if you're watching today and you've benefited from the preschool, you know this to be true. My kids, I have 3 of them now that have graduated and been in the preschool. And those building blocks, those early foundational years were so important for them at Hidden Treasures Preschool. And I just invite you, if you're looking for a preschool, to come check out Hidden Treasures Preschool. You can check out the website. You can call the office and set up a time to come visit, even during the summer.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
It looks a little different in the summer, but we still have King's Camp going on, and Abby and the others are there in the office, and we'd love to set up a time to meet with you. And for our Calvary family that are already aware of the preschool, send a note to Abby. Just say thank you if you have opportunity. I know that many of you appreciate her and appreciate the role that your teacher has played in the preschool. Send that preschool teacher a note. It's always a good time in the summer just for encouragement. A lot of them are working right now more than we realize. They're doing prep for the fall. They're getting worksheets ready and doing all kinds of crazy stuff that I never even was aware of until you kind of get in the trenches and realize all the effort that goes through even the summertime and professional development and prepping for the fall. And so we're praying for our preschool teachers. Abby, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to many more editions of the Lions Roar podcast. Thanks for joining us today.